Well, to discuss all of this in a bit more detail, I'm joined by Hiwa Osman, who is CEO of Media One. Is there an element of truth in what Donald Trump is saying, disregarding perhaps for a minute that it comes from him?
I think so. I think in situations like this, in situations where we have communities that are isolated like this, and they are being tolerated, especially when they have some self-appointed radicals as the leaders of these communities, and they preach about this radical form of Islam.
And we understand that that is the case in Belgium.
Exactly, and in fact, even in the UK and many other European countries, under the pretext or the excuse of freedom of expression, hiding behind that and behind political correctness, many forms of radicalization are taking place in these countries, and nothing is happening towards that. Let's look at the Kurdish example in the Middle East, for example. Kurdistan is a place where they are fighting ISIS on the front lines and in the mosques. Not a week passes without, at the end of the Friday prayers in the mosques of Kurdistan, where it ends with a prayer against ISIS. Now let's look at how many mosques in the UK and in France and in Belgium are praying for the fighting, for the counterterrorism forces to catch or to capture or kill Daesh members, either in the UK or in Europe. We hear none of that. We only hear about breaches of freedom of expression for the radicals, the self-appointed leaders of these various Muslim communities, and we hear nothing to the contrary.
The situation in Belgium, though, is worse than it is in the UK, I think, isn't it? It's got this whole generation of North African immigrants who are not assimilated into society at all, and also a very divided society all the way up. Can we point to that as the reason for this?
It is one of the factors. Belgium or Brussels is seen by many as the Jihadist Capital of Europe, but at the same time we really have to look at the teachings of the Islamic religion in modern times. Why don't we see Chinese terrorists, for example, Buddhist terrorists, or we don't see Christian or Jewish terrorists the way that they are, if they are marginalized in certain communities, the way that certain Muslim terrorists are coming across in these various cities are conducting attacks. So there's clearly something wrong with the teachings of Islam in modern times, and this is a serious issue that various Western governments have to look into. Fighting extremism is not just a terrorist issue, terrorism or security issue. It is a political, cultural, and a social issue.
Okay, Hiwa Osman, thank you very much for talking to us this evening.